Right, welcome back, viewers, to another exciting episode of our podcast series, the Young Turks Dialogues by Crobstacle. This is our episode number 86, and today we have a very special guest with us. Her name is Rimjhim Ray. Hi, Rimjhim. How are you feeling today?
And well, I am feeling great to be on this podcast. We have anyway talked about this before. I think it's an exciting place to be on.
Yes. So today's episode is going to be really exciting. We have a lot to discuss about, from coding to culture, marketing, SaaS, tech, telecom. There is so much. So before we start a bit about talking about the topics for today, why not we talk a bit about you? Because everybody has different story, and we got you because of your story. So let's talk a bit about it.
Yeah, like I think we just were talking just before the drum rolls.
Yes.
I grew up in not even a tier 2, 3, 4 city, probably a tier 5 or a tier 6 city, a small town on the Bengal Bihar border. My dad was a doctor, he was posted in various places, and this you know typically been in steel township, ore mines, coal mines across. Uh, and it's been an interesting story. I think a story of kind of for us people born in the 80s, the early millennials. Uh, we were born in a generation where internet happened to us sometimes in high school, and even mobile phones came to us late in school or late in colleges. So we virtually grew up with the internet, without the internet. From starting from there, very small town, and then going global. I started my career in Ireland, then worked in London, worked across Europe and USA. I was in tech, consulted with some of the best companies around the world. Studied MBA at Imperial London, so I think it. So, and I'll not say that I didn't have a privileged upbringing. I did have, because dad was a doctor. But having said that, I was not born. I never had the access that a lot of kids have. Kids growing up in metros have. But from that small town, then walking in London, walking in some of the busiest cities across the world, walking across Germany, US, Austria, Ireland, and then studying MBA at one of the most premium B schools across the world. I think that was a leap of faith in itself. I think I could do all of it thanks particularly to my mom, because she, uh, you know, especially a lot of moms of millennials, these people were boomers, right? People born in the 50s, and I saw a lot of my friends have the disadvantage because they were often told by your moms कि लड़कियां इतने ही कुछ कर सकती है, आप कर लो, आप ना ये इतने ही बन सकते हो. My mom never told me that. She said आप जो चाहो, आप रॉकेट साइंटिस्ट बनना चाहते हो, आप वो बन सकती हो. You want to become a author, you want to be famous, you just go out and claim your place in the sun. So that's how she brought us up. And I owe a lot of my success in life, a lot of the attitude that I have in life कि देखा जाएगा, जो भी होगा देखा जाएगा, attitude to her. Um, I had to quit MBA at Imperial, and I'm an MBA dropout. Because back then, there was a family emergency, and family has been always been a very strong pole. Has always been a strong center stage for me. I think family always has come first. So I decided to drop out and come back to India, and I've been in India for the last about 10 years right now. Back in India, then I went ahead and did my MBA at SPJ in Mumbai. Didn't go back after that. I've been back, probably as a visitor or gone back to business, but never really permanently moved back because the family out here needed me. Parents were getting older. Uh, After doing my MBA, I worked for kind of shifted from tech to advertising. I worked with Leo Burnett and worked with some of the best brands, including KBC, Mr. Amitabh Bachchan, Shah Rukh Khan, KKR. I think that was a like a different world altogether. So coming from a very geeky, techie world, because I'm an engineer by education, and then kind of going out into the world of media and glamour. That was a fantastic experience. 2015, I quit to become an entrepreneur, and I think I'm one of the early entrepreneurs in AI. We formed Sportal.ai in 2017, when AI has not really become a buzzword that it is there in 2025. We got featured by NASCAR as one of the best AI innovations to come out of India. We filed patents. And it was specifically accelerating for me because I also headed product for Sportal, so building early AI, sitting in India. And when AI was still just about getting started, and we were still kind of, how do you figure out machine learning? How do you figure out those large CPUs and GPUs that needs to crunch that data? How do we even source that data? And we tried to solve all of that problem. I solved a very important problem at that point of time. We democratized careers for early stage, freshers and graduates. because we realize that there's a lot of while India is producing lakhs of graduates probably every year, not everyone has the right kind of opportunity beyond the IITs or the tier one.
That is so true. Because I also come from tier two city, so I totally
Yeah,
agree.
so we want
Even
to
I
take
remember
opportunity
when my
everyone.
college placement was happening, how it was. There were so less opportunities, so many kids, and not everybody was able to get it.
Exactly. And it's because we are such a populous democracy, right? And it's no fault of us that if you're not born in the right place, you're not in the right place at the right time. You don't come from, often people do not come from a privileged background. Your problem is one entrance exam, and you miss out on a lot of opportunities. So even and on the other hand, companies also struggle at this stage because there's a plethora of graduates coming out of college. They don't know whom to pick. So we built a sort of a matchmaking platform. In fact, your story called us the Tinder for jobs. uh, I like the term, but I wouldn't. Well, I sort of kind of it's a catchy phrase, but I wouldn't want to be a Tinder for jobs.
Yeah.
It's much more deep than that. But we basically match make these young graduates or freshers to opportunities. We algorithmically build career paths for them and then match them to the best opportunities. We work with some of the best companies. We work with some of the best campuses, and we also work with about if I will not just say the best campuses, and the best campus is a very relative term. We work with a plethora of campuses, a huge bank, about 4,000 plus campuses across India, Singapore, Thailand. We also went to Southeast Asia. We worked in Africa. And this portal was a fantastic journey. And then the last 3 years, I've been building Heyo. Heyo again, is my second stint as an AI planner because we've been building in conversational AI. The goal or the aim here is to even use AI to help small and medium businesses. Even in
Okay.
the world of e-commerce and quick commerce, you still see the small retailer getting left out. So how using AI and conversational data and by kind of making customer engagement accessible to even the smallest of retailer or the smallest of shop, how can we help him go online very easily and then sell? So we are basically building AI for to enable conversational commerce. So that has been my journey, and I've been an investor, kind of invested in a few good companies. Uh, I've been an author, and I think I've always believed कि life में life is too short to not pivot.
Right.
You go on experimenting. I enjoy the journey always more than the destination. तो बहुत क्या set goals है कि मुझे 10 साल में I have to become a billionaire. That's not the philosophy I live by. I want to build things. I want to break things. I want to make things, but I want to enjoy the journey more than having been fixated on certain goals in life.
No, that is very interesting, and like there are so many hats we have worn to date, and there is so much that you have done. And
Mhm.
not talking about your AI ventures as well. You did it when nobody was doing it 2017.
Yeah.
AI and telecom, to be
Yeah.
precise, right? So, what shaped your unique lens on marketing and product building? If I talk about, throughout this journey.
So I always call myself, that was the name of my first startup, Unmarketeer. So I call myself an anti-marketeer in that sense. In the sense that I obviously I kind of not I was not born a marketeer. I basically started in tech, right? And tech always appealed to me, and I always had this left brain right brain dichotomy, right? तो लोग जो मेरे poems पढ़ते थे, they said, why are you not in English? And लोग जो मेरे math skills देखते थे, they said, no, never go in English. You are made to born to be an engineer types. So finally, that engineering thing won at that point of a time. Marketing, I think, but I think that amalgamation, right? Marketing, if you see in today's day, is an amalgamation of both left brain and right brain thinking. There's a lot of data, there's a lot of science that goes behind marketing, but at the end of the day, so it's a creative function. You use data, you leverage data, you root yourself in insights, but it's not an exact science, right? Because you are trying to influence people, you're trying to uh, kind of inspire people, and that cannot be just science. So I think that left brain right brain combination sort of shaped my philosophy in marketing, and that's what I look at even today. I do look at data, but that's not the only thing I look at. Number one, I do look at creativity, but that's not the only thing I look at. So I try to marry data and creativity.
That
So
is
that,
very interesting. That is something that most people miss out on today. They just talk about the data is the new oil, but forget that there are other things also you need to take into consideration because we are talking to humans at the end.
absolutely. I mean, still AI is not buying for me, right? The day AI is buying for me, I do not know what will happen. But right now, a lot of decisions are emotional, right? You
Yes.
you buy a certain brand of jeans, not necessarily because that's the best, or that's the kind of most affordable, etc. You're doing it because it triggers certain emotions in you,
Correct.
or you're buying a certain, you go and buy from a certain shop only because that's probably a certain relationship that you have built with it. So
Correct.
humans not necessarily always take rational decisions. So आपको वो data के साथ that
In,
inspiration has to be kind of married together.
right. And like you have scaled Spottle.ai with AI first features long before it was cool, right?
Mm,
Still now in the current trend, AI has become cool. Like I remember in 2023 when ChatGPT was launched,
mm,
that's
mm.
where it started to become cool. People started to see, oh, it has got the most downloads. Then I think it is DeepSeek that came in, or DeepSeek.
Deep
Yeah,
sea. Mm,
DeepSeek. So they came in with the things, they became cool. But then, you built it way back. So
mm.
what lessons from early AI product marketing still hold true today in the current, buzz that is going on around AI and now AGI? I've been hearing people talking about AGI.
Yeah, I think don't build technology for technology's sake. Don't build AI just because everyone is building in AI. If you think of a problem and then you solve it with AI, not that I want to do AI and then you try invent the problem around it. So it still has to be problem first. If AI fits, great. To what extent AI fits, that also you have to evaluate. I think that is the first principle that I kind of go by. That before you think about the technology or the tools that will help you solve your problems, though I'm a kind of a techie at core, I think one of the lessons that I've learned from startups, that have been, of course, bad days and good, that have been successes and failures. One of the things that it has taught me is don't get obsessed with the tech, which often happens to an entrepreneur, right? We get obsessed with the tech. We say, और एक feature डाल दे तो the market will love us. Let's put AI on it, and the market will love us, because that's the buzzword. Let's put this cool tech on it, and VCs will love us. It doesn't work that way. You have to think of the problem. You think of the solution. You think of the problem or even the solution. You're probably not, even that is not the right stage to think about tech. So you have a problem. Okay, this is a problem. This is how I can solve it. And then to enable the solution, what are the technology stack that you need? So I think in 2025 is all the more relevant because I see a lot of people saying that we do AI, and when you kind of ask them those deep questions, what will you achieve out of it? Do you think it will make people's life better? Do you think it will actually make money for you? I often see those answers are not there. They're doing it because, yeah, 2025, everyone is doing AI. VCs are putting money in AI. That's what we should be. That is not sustainable. So I think this is very important. आपके product market fit तब भी होता है when you're solving a problem for people, and people don't care. When your consumers don't care whether you solve with AI, with data science,
Experience चाहिए,
उन्हें
basically.
एक्सपीरियंस चाहिए. उन्हें एक्सपीरियंस चाहिए, उनके प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व होना चाहिए. आप उनमें what has gone behind the hood, your consumers honestly don't care.
That is that is true. This is something that I realized very later on when I was building my first product. So I was like, we will build it on Flutter, we will use Firebase, and our USP is it is a cross-functional app. And then I realized after launching it that nobody cares about it is built on Flutter. They just want to be. So that was my learning point with the product business. But yes, that is totally true what you say. And in terms of marketing as well, so I realized this. The there are four basic principles: product, price, place, promotion. I was not implementing them for myself. So yeah, that is true. So marketing, HeyoPhone, and My Operator in a utility-driven SaaS space can't rely on vanity. Like there is no chance to rely on it. How do you make a smart phone line feel like a movement to your customers? What different you did?
So we sell outcomes, instead of the solution. What is the outcome that the company is achieving for these people? So I talked about how it is helping them go online faster, how it is helping them grow faster with with all the features it has. So it's not the features that we sell, it's the outcome that आपके business, once you're using this solution, your business grows from from A to A dash, or your business grows by 25%. And we try and show demonstrable proof of it, be it through social proof, as in other customers talking about it, be it through case studies, be it through webinars, or kind of events where we bring in other customers to talk about how it has helped them. uh, we do a lot of kind of social proof based marketing. We do a lot of customer testimonial based marketing. But this is a market where to build trust. In B2B, one of the most important thing is trust. Because people are kind of trusting you with their business, and a business, unlike I might experiment with a new soap, because ठीक है क्या है ये होगा. I mean, obviously I'm putting it on the skin, so some amount of trust obviously will be there. But when you're experimenting with something for your business, especially small and medium business mein, where it is very owner driven, and owners know that he has built up his venture with his own blood and sweat over so many years. Before trusting any tool, before trusting any software platform, he asks 100 questions. I think
That is
trust is one of the biggest friction that you have to overcome. Then you have got other friction, like how easy it is, what is the price, etc. But the first friction is trust, and that is what uh, so we try to solve that problem of trust, and then we try and we demonstrate to you what will be the outcome that you get out of my product, not the features, not the not not the technicalities behind it. This is the outcome, and this is why you should trust us to deliver that outcome. That's what single line value prop.
that makes a lot of sense. And in B2B, like there is one more thing we can talk about. Like you mentioned it rightly. There are hundreds of queries. So with that, it brings in a lot of longevity in terms of the deal conversion from the time you talk to the prospect to conversion. Is there anything you do in that to reduce that time? And what's your take on why it takes so long?
See, this is especially true. I mean, this typically depends on the size of the enterprise. See, here we have a very short deal cycle, and my operator, where we deal with mid-size plus businesses, the deal cycle can be longer. Now, how do you kind of reduce the deal cycle time? So, I think there are two, three ways you do it. One, it's what kind of price flexibility you're giving your market. So, if you're trying to buy, when you try to sell multi-year plans, etc., you typically face a higher kind of a barrier. So, can you give them enough free trial? Can you even kind of modularize your plans to so for them to even try out for a couple, for a month or something, and then you get the buy-in in that period. If you're if it's a very expensive software, if you see, the more expensive the software, the larger the enterprise buying you, the larger will be the deal cycle. So one is how can you convince them to free trials, etc. B, I talked about social proof, right? I talked about trust building. That is very important. uh, so why will when you are implementing an Oracle database, vis-a-vis say, let's say, a new database in the market, or uh, or let's say you're implementing a Microsoft tool as opposed to a new tool that has just come out in the market. You already have an awareness of that brand, right? So your question cycles are much smaller. Now, how do you build that amount of trust? How do you show that from the point that lead has landed in your pipeline, right? The top of the funnel leads, how do you then give them enough information about your brand, about how you have achieved outcomes of similar brands, how you have solved problems for similar brands or similar industry before. The better way you are able to give that proof, the better way your sales and marketing team is able to give that proof to the customer, the shorter your deal cycle is going to be. At the end of the day, that's what I said, a business owner or a business or a highly placed CXO is looking for proof that if they're using your software, his goals will be met, not your goals. It's his goals, right? And his goals wouldn't be कि मुझे ये software use करना है. No, his goals would be my top line should grow from A to B. My bottom line, my profit should go up. My cost should come down. My inefficiency should come down. I should be able to optimize my workforce by 10%. So understand that business goal, and then show proof of how your software can meet those business goals. If you have case studies, if you have demonstrable videos, if you have demonstrable testimonials, those are very important things that you feed to your funnel. In the middle of the funnel is, typically where all the conversion happens. You feed all of that data to that funnel, making sure that the person, all the rebuttals are given, all the questions that an enterprise owner or a enterprise CXO has all the answers to his questions. Having said that, enterprise deals take longer. The more complex the software, the larger the enterprise, it can go to even 3 months, 6 months, 9 months. I was just talking to a very smart founder yesterday, and he said, if they sell a SaaS software, we even see deal cycles of 9 months to 1 year. So if you are selling to enterprise, you will have to kind of work on your patience game, right? You
There
can
is no way actually to skip that
Mm,
because it takes a
yeah,
lot.
you can accelerate it with the right amount of proof, with the right amount of data, with making sure your rebuttals are on point, that you're able to kind of give demos and free trials, and you're able to kind of are able to walk through all the objections that an enterprise might have. आप उससे से 12 months से 9 months कर लोगे, but it's not possible that you suddenly you're able to close deals within a day. It's not impulse buys in enterprises.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
So, if I talk about in current era, what are the metrics or success indicators that matter the most in your marketing funnel? Like, is it CAC, LTV, or something else entirely?
I think for a SaaS company, LTV is very, very important. And your LTV to CAC ratio, right? What is your payback period? I think two periods. And more than CAC, I prioritize LTV and the payback period. So my CAC might be high, but if my payback period is low, that means I'm able to kind of, that means my product is priced very competitively. My MRR is pretty high. If it's a high MRR product, probably my CAC will be high. So just looking at CAC in isolation doesn't give me the right kind of right kind of an indicator. But if I'm looking at a payback period, that my payback period is 6 months, while typically my customers are retained over 3 years, I know that I've got a good profitability window. The other thing that you look at is an LTV to CAC, right? You know, once a customer is coming, I think LTV is one of the most important things. Because once you have brought in your customers in, right? Uh, it's always it's always profitable. I mean, it's kind of no brainer, right? It's very profitable to sell to to a customer who's already there on your book, because you are having zero CAC. आपके marketing budget एकदम से low हो गया. The maximum money servicing as compared to a customer servicing cost, a customer acquisition cost is always usually very high. So looking at LTV, how you're able to cross sell, upsell, how we are able to kind of give them that service so that that term with you is higher. What is the typical retention period if you have very high churn? uh, uh, so the third metric that I look at is churn. So if your churn, what should your year to year churn be? I think not more than 10%, for a kind of a SaaS tool. So if you are able to keep churn at a minimal level, that also means that once a customer has come in, he's going to give me repeat business year on year. On the other hand, my CAC is low. I'm able to bring in a lot of customers, but then I also have maybe a 40-50% churn every year. So in this point, you're always you're not never really, you're always building a very leaky pipeline, right? Because अब लोग तो आ रहे हैं, but लोग जा भी रहे हैं. So you're not never really building a sustainable business. Payback. So for me, these three things, payback period, how long a customer is retaining with you, and what is your churn year on year. And third is LTV. I prioritize this more. I do look at CAC. It's not that CAC is not important, but CAC has to be looked at through this lens, because if you're selling a high value product, CAC will always be high. So you cannot look at CAC in isolation.
Right. No, that is so true.
Mm.
And how do you, so like, uh, there is a lot of noise around, tech, that tech people don't understand marketing or, things like this. I have
Mm.
heard a lot. So
Mm.
how do you blend engineering thinking with
Mm.
creative storytelling while, making your go-to market strategy for tech first products?
See, I think it's very important if you're selling a tech first product, whether in tech or you're in sales or marketing, you understand tech. Uh, uh, um, I might be prejudiced here, but I kind of believe that without understanding technology, I cannot really make it simple for my end customers. I'll have to understand, what my technology does. I don't have to be I may or may not be an engineer. Does not necessarily have to have an engineering background, but I should have that amount of tech IQ to understand, what is the problem that tech is solving, how exactly it is solving it, so that I can then build a story on top of it, and then I make tech accessible to my end customer. To that extent, it's very important that if you're selling a tech product, your marketing and sales team understands your product, understands what it does, understands it, at least understands it at a UI UX level, if not a lot of behind the hood marketing. Uh, uh, understand how customers interact with it, understand what are the problems it is solving for them. Once you know that, right, you are also able to then relate it to the outcome that tech is driving, and combining both of these things together, you have a very compelling pitch, right? I've got AI powered SaaS solution which cuts your marketing spend by 10%. by optimizing your Facebook ads. So that is my one line value prop, and then how I build up more compelling pitch around it. But I need to understand, this part that, yeah, hey, yes, there is AI in there. B, it is, able to kind of optimize marketing spend, and then where, because customers are going to ask you those questions, kind of that vagueness. Customers, especially in tech, when you have a B2B customers, they will ask you pointed questions. So your marketing materials, your sales materials have to answer those questions, right? If I don't know the answers myself, uh, then it's very difficult for me to kind of make the customer understand.
No, that is right. So
Mm.
in terms of you scaled Spotify to 3,000 plus campuses, 100K plus certifications. How did AI impact your product messaging and audience engagement? Because we have been talking something related to this, so why not you talk a bit about this?
I think it's spotted, right? The AI part was more relevant, or it was kind of lapped up more by the B2B side of it, because we were a double-sided marketplace, right? On one hand, we worked with corporates, so we were surfacing the best talent from the campuses for them, and on the other hand, we worked with students. Student like the cool UI UX, how it kind of auto generated a career path for them, constantly prompted them that, this is, hey, this is what you need to do next. This is what you need to know. This is what you need to change in your CV. These are the skills you need to add. This is where you're strong. This is where you're weak. They, of course, kind of AI was a buzzword, and they definitely, kind of felt empowered that, if an AI is kind of generating the suggestions for them, is cool. And of course, finally, at the end of the day, it had to solve an out problem for them. It had to get them jobs. So no matter how cool my tech was, unless it was getting them jobs, it didn't work. So because we were also getting them jobs, so that is where they saw the efficacy of that AI. But I think more than anything else, companies loved it a lot, because obviously these enterprises saw the early power of AI. They saw, how using AI they can, shorten their CV sorting cycle, how they can, kind of reduce the time to hire someone. We even we also signed contracts with, some of the big four companies to make internal hiring easier, like project fitment, right?
Okay.
So there they said, there they saw the power of the technology, that, that if I'm taking days for a recruiter to go through CVs or scan across profiles and, get an understanding of it, here's tech that is simplifying that CV sorting part. It is simplifying the time to hire part. It is simplifying assessments, because we are AI powered assessment where I could also check the submission of your projects. So it's basically reducing the inefficiency in that hiring cycle. This is how we message. This is how we, kind of tailor the messaging.
So that is very good, and that you are educating the consumer as well.
Hmm.
So one thing that I would like to understand from you is that in a world flooded with AI noise, how do you cut through and create authentic AI based value proposition? Because there are so many companies that they talk that we are a AI driven company, but then it is automation,
Hmm.
and customers are on the customers end, they also do not understand AI very well. So how do you communicate that?
Um, I think it's a very, good question, and also a very difficult question to answer. Honestly, because there's a lot of AI noise right now,
Yes.
and everyone, every company is claiming to use AI in some way or the other.
Yeah.
Now, the way I think I want to cut through the noise, or I try to cut through the noise, like I said, I focus on the outcome, right? At the end of the day, your consumers, even in B2B, right? Yeah, it's cool to have AI as part of your solution stack, but more than that, they are, kind of bothered about that. Am I kind of helping them in that 25% growth, or am I helping them in the 10% cost optimization? That outcome is very important. Whether or not you are using AI, how good your AI solution is will be judged by the outcome you're able to deliver. You focus on the outcome more than the fact that, I've got AI, and hey, I've got AI, and I've got this. I've got generative AI, I've got AGI, I've got XYZ, I've got AI driven videos, I've got AI driven audio. So all of that things sounds cool on a LinkedIn post, but it's not cool when you're in that final round of pitch.
Right.
Yeah. When you're selling to a CXO sitting across the board, वो even newest CXOs, I mean traditional CXOs तो पूछते ही है कि अच्छा धंधा कितना बढ़ेगा.
हाँ,
हाँ?
that is the final question जिस पे deal होती है.
Yeah, that's the question that you have to answer in a B2B world. Even in a B2C world, अब बोल दो कि आपके सोप में AI है. ठीक है, सोप में AI तो है, but will it make my skin better? will it make my skin softer? वो यूज करने के बाद मेरा स्किन जल तो नहीं जाएगा? So you are basically selling certain outcome, Lux sells you that, film star like skin to you. आप
Right.
उससे एनिमार्ट होके जाके खरीदते हो. It is kind of an outcome, it has to make the buyer, the decision maker, feel that his or her life is going to change after using your product. उनके कोई प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व होगा या उनके कोई गोल्स मेट होगा. आपकी कम्युनिकेशन, आई थिंक, मोर देन फोकसिंग ऑन how cool your AI is, which everyone is busy talking about, say that, hey, my AI is cool, but this is what it's going to do for you. This is how it is going to, kind of solve your problems. आप उस पे focus करो. I'm sure that, your consumers or your B2, irrespective of B2C or B2B, they will buy you more.
And as you rightly said at the end in the meeting, so धंधा कितना बड़ा. So in the pitch also. So do you believe marketers today understand AI deeply enough to build around it, or is it still being treated like a glitter on the pitch deck?
I do not really have an answer to this, because I can answer for myself that, of course, I understand AI very deeply. But a lot of noise, if you see, when from a scan on a LinkedIn, etc., you see a very superficial knowledge of AI for sure. And and that is also the reason is that, there's also a content war we are fighting.
Hmm.
Yeah, because we are all in that business of, kind of generating likes, comments, views, etc. I mean, उसके बाद क्या होगा? We often, I mean, a lot of us don't know honestly.
No, no.
LinkedIn में अगर 2000 likes आ भी गया तो क्या होगा? But we are fighting for those likes. So the moment you have a content diarrhea, I mean, the content is good, but, kind of content being created on a kind of a, on a without that deep thinking going into it. If you have to create, say, 10 pieces of content every day, finally आपके content में वो depth नहीं रहेगा. So it will always be a little superficial level of understanding. But people who are doing deep work, you will understand also from the, from the results they're driving, or even the content that they put out. I think it's important that I don't have an easy answer to it, कि आप ये प्रेशर खुद के ऊपर कैसे रिड्यूस करोगे कि even without understanding deeply enough about a topic, I am just putting it out. It might get me likes and comments, like I said, but they are, at the end of it, I know you, when you are in the business of content, and I'm
Right.
sure that you understand it more than anyone else. Unless that content is also driving value for your viewers, right? It's driving value for people who are consuming your content. That content would also not drive value for you. So before putting out content, before just putting out glittery content, before talking anything about AI or putting it on a deck, it's very important that we understand it deeply enough to actually, know the problems it solves, to know even the pitfalls of it, right? AI is not a silver bullet that solves all of my problems. If I It's important that if you're speaking about something, I always believe this, if you're speaking about something, if you're claiming to specialize in something, आप उसको deeply समझो. Unless you are understanding it deeply, you might get some traction initially, and then, you would not be able to sustain that kind of traction, be it in terms of viewership, be it in terms of the product you are building, or be it in terms of the career that you're trying to build out of it. So at least that level of depth has to be there. It's very difficult. Depth is something that, honestly, social media is killed for all of us. I mean, we are all products of social media, but I still say that social media has killed a lot of depth, because it kind of, prioritizes views and likes over real deep content. But if you can walk around that FOMO, if you can walk around that, कि अभी मुझे, I need to be known as an AI specialist, you actually spend time on specializing in AI. And I think आज की डेट में वो tools भी available है. If I want to study about AI, etc., ChatGPT is the best tool that can probably teach me about AI, and I can go deep there, experiment with stuff, etc. And it's important that, like I said, gone are the days where I could just be very superficially. I'm a marketer, and I could be very superficially knowing about my product. It's very important that I live and breathe that product. The best marketers live and breathe that product. Whether I'm selling, whether I'm selling Pepsi, or whether I'm selling Mac, or whether I'm selling a complicated B2B software, I need to understand, live with my product enough to not just be, kind of talk about it superficially, but actually able to communicate it, actually able to convince people about it, actually able to inspire a movement around it.
Right.
Mm.
And So yeah, AI thing is totally clear. I think
Mm,
what you have said is totally right.
mm,
So you are also a WICCI leader,
mm,
TIE charter member, and an angel investor. So you work with a lot of startups. You talk with them, engage with them.
mm.
So what do you wish that more startup founders got right about marketing in the early stages?
Product market fit.
Simple answer.
I
And
mean,
why?
it's something I also, if I could talk to myself 10 years earlier when I started up, आप जब स्टार्टअप करते हो ना, आप में बहुत सारे फोमो रहता है, because you are kind of itching, right, to tell the world about you. And it happened with me, with us also. I think early days of Sportal, when we made a lot of mistakes, we invested money in, kind of in PR, in marketing, etc. And then we realized कि नहीं, अभी तो, once we started losing the money and our CAC started going up, we realized कि probably the product is still not ready. We need to go back to our drawing board and work on it more. Same for Heyo. We've been kind of, if the CAC goes up, instead of just blindly putting more money onto it, you need to question ki, where is my natural growth? Is my natural growth and adoption even happening? Are people kind of, even if today I stop all my ads, I already have got 1,000 customers. Will this 1,000 customers bring in the next 1,000 customers? Will these customers, the 1,000 customers that come in, will stay with me for 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, 2 year? If before doing this, before kind of earning your customers' trust, before earning the product market fit, where the product is actually solving for the market that you want to solve it for, any money you pour on marketing will actually go down the drain and actually will bite you first faster. It says that good marketing makes bad product fail even faster. So product market fit is the most important thing. उसके बाद marketing को scale करो. 1,000 times ask yourself that, are my customers genuinely liking it, or because I'm spending money on meta ads and Google ads, it's just coming, maybe trying it for a month or so and then leaving. And then they're also not going and giving you the best reviews, they're not giving the best estimate, they're not going and telling 10 other people कि इसको definitely try करना चाहिए. जब तक आपके around customers की retention and word of mouth, if you're not able to build retention and word of mouth around your product, then there's no point in marketing your product even. That means there's a gap. Either there could be a gap in the market is not ready for your product, or there's a gap in the product that your product is probably not solving all the needs of that market. Either way, you need to go back to your drawing board instead of kind of scaling up marketing, or kind of over calling your marketing team over the coals. Ask yourself that question as a founder: that am I even solving the right problem, or am I even solving it right? ये क्वेश्चन की क्लैरिटी अगर आपके पास नहीं हो, तब मार्केटिंग मत करो.
Market.
मत करो.
That is true.
Hmm.
Now, you have mentioned this question. So let's talk a bit about the kind of mindset you have. So you have grown Heyo to 2 million plus downloads in six
Hmm.
months. What's a non-obvious growth lever you pulled that made all the difference?
Uh, See, early on, we got picked up by influencers,
Okay.
and this was, small business influencers on Instagram who we seeded some of it, because I've been working with influencers for some time, from 2014 around the Leo Burnett days.
Okay.
We work with influencers, and I've kind of done pretty deep work with influencers. So one of the hacks we tried early on is, let's kind of give this product to few influencers. That was not even the first campaign. I'll not say a lot of planning had gone into it. We just said, all right, and I've worked with influencers before. Even in Spottle, a lot of our growth came through campus influencers. We didn't spend, after the initial amount of spending, we didn't spend much on ads. In fact, we spent zero amount on ads. It was campus influencers who helped us grow. We just went to a campus, identified, the sort of student leader out there, made him or her use Portal, and then, recruited him or her as an ambassador. So here we said, who can be my ambassadors? Are there some people already using Heo who have active Instagram profiles, who are very active on Facebook? So we tried to kind of find out those advocates who also have active social profiles. Plus, we kind of identified some small business influencers, and these are not the most priciest ones. We typically pick the bottom of the rank, so we don't end up spending a lot of money on that experiment. We just give them that product. They picked up the product, they started talking about it, and suddenly we were viral. So one day, and I remember I was in Chennai, I was at the Chennai airport. There was kind of, and काफी देर से मैंने मैसेजेस चेक नहीं किया था. When I finally opened the messages, it was like, there's literally my timeline was red. The engineering team, the product, everyone were like, what has gone wrong? Servers are down. इतने सारे डाउनलोड्स हुए और इतने सारे हिट्स आए एक दिन में. That's kind of product graph and like this, at the hockey stick curve, right? And I was like, and then what has happened? People thought that there's a hacking. So I was like, एक बार ना प्रोफाइल चेक करो. कौन डाउनलोड कर रहा है, क्या कर रहा है, कहाँ से कर रहा है, एंड गॉट द सपोर्ट टीम टू कॉल अप दोस पीपल. आप कहाँ से सुने हो? They said, oh, हमने इंस्टा पे ये स्टोरी देखा था. I was like, okay, that experiment actually went viral. Because
So
I
it
think the
was
product
really
was easy
theft.
to use.
Theft.
Easy to use. Yeah. We did have I did have, kind of certain idea about it, product market fit already being there. And then when influencers picked it up and talked about it, suddenly went viral. So that is one of the non-obvious growth levers that we use.
Okay. Interesting. That is actually very interesting. So what does your day-to-day marketing stack looks like today? Tools, team, rituals, frameworks. What are the things you use to lead effectively?
So, there are two, three divisions within marketing for a B2B product, right? One, of course, is your performance. One would be content. And a third, I think, which I want to do more of, especially going forward, would be, engaging, is building a high level thought leadership. So I do spend a lot of time on my, and I think it's all about it's all about founder led brands. Right now, thought leadership, the best thought leaders that you can have are your founders and your CXOs or your business heads. Uh, that's the level one. And once you have enabled them, probably your larger employee base will also get inspired and start posting about you. Some of enabling that voice of your own people is very important. That thought leadership is very important, and I have two, three levels of thought leadership. One is, kind of, which is still relevant, I believe, even in the days of social media, etc. Top analyst voice is still relevant for a B2B product, right? So working with analysts, Gartner, Forrester, etc. If a
Right.
product can do that, then you can penetrate the best of enterprises. So that kind of a thing. Second is, kind of like I said, how can you activate thought leadership at a CXO business head level? How can you work with the business leaders to help them find a voice? Because a lot of, and a lot of them, such time we have the business knowledge, but we're not articulate as storytelling. And I think a marketing division of every company has that important, kind of responsibility of identifying those voices, identifying the knowledge which is there in your company, and enabling that to give them a platform. LinkedIn is a very good platform how you can enable more kind of voices on it. So these are two, three levels that we are working on in performance marketing, building thought leadership, content marketing. Uh, I'm not a big framework fan,
Okay.
but we work with quarterly goals. We then, break down those quarterly goals into actionables and plans. So if I have to kind of say, hit X amount of revenue here, where will that revenue come from? Then you start breaking it down that, so if I talk about here, the X1 will come from renewals and X2 will come from new acquisitions. If I have to get X1 from renewals, I need to, kind of make sure that this percentage of people renew. So how can I ensure that these people renew? So working with the support team there. And if I have to hit X2 amount number in new acquisitions, then what is the budget that goes in? What are the channels that go in? And I know that 30% will come from organic, 70% from paid media. Then you break it down into those goals, you set the budget, and then you enable the team basically. And I think that on your day to day, you as a leader, you step back, review, and help them with insights, wherever you think they're going wrong. While you focus, I think a leader should always think one quarter ahead. I should always be thinking, or should already be thinking कि हम next quarter क्या कर सकते हैं, और by the end of the year where should I be, where do I want to be. Yeah. तो आपको operationally आपको देखना ही चाहिए, but you have to have a good kind of a balance of the strategy and the long term vision with the short term execution. Otherwise शायद आप you will probably आप माइक्रो ऑप्टिमाइजेशन करोगे, आपके वो 5-10% ग्रोथ आ जाएगा, बट इफ यू हैव टू मूव लेवल्स देन यू हैव टू थिंक अहेड. तो उतना हेड स्पेस आपको खाली रखना चाहिए. आपको उतना एफिशिएंट टीम आपके पास होना चाहिए कि दे आर एबल टू एग्जीक्यूट योर डे टू डे प्लान्स while you are able to kind of take more of the role of a reviewer and a course corrector, and are able to focus on long term goals.
Very well explained, I will say.
Hmm.
So, like you have operated across geographies from India to UK to the US. How do customer behaviors shape marketing strategies across in cross-border SaaS?
I think the Western market is much more structured.
Okay.
and much more homogeneous. India
Okay.
is a very heterogeneous market. आपके जो पिच नॉर्थ में काम करेगा साउथ में नहीं काम करता,
नहीं करेगा.
जो मुंबई में काम करता है वो नागपुर में नहीं करेगा. आपके
That is that, as you said, I have a very good example. So once upon a time, so I live in Dehradun. Delhi is close to me, so I know how to deal with customers in Delhi. And I got this customer from Bangalore. My partner is from Bangalore, so he got this customer, and I talked in the same way how I talked to a Delhi customer. And that customer didn't talk to me for 3 days, and then he went and told my business partner that your partner does not know how to talk. And I was
Hmm.
like, this is normal for us in North.
Hmm.
So I realized this. Yeah, that is, every geography is so different here in India.
Hmm. Exactly. So I think Western market का वो advantage है. It's a much more homogeneous market. Uh, uh, it's a much more predictable market. You can kind of sort of predict
Right.
those markets to behave in a certain way. Uh, on the other hand, I mean that is a pros. I mean that is a con side of working in an India market. It's a very heterogeneous market. So you have to constantly adapt your strategy for each market, for each person you're talking to. हम बुरा बहुत मान जाते हैं. Like you
Right.
said, there a business deal is a business deal. It be a formal deal. 6 p.m. is 6 p.m. I'm going to talk to you at 6 p.m. I'm going to talk to you at 6 p.m. Uncertainty काफी कम है. Having said that, there's also a huge pro of the Indian market. I think it's still a very virgin market, right? Our story is just getting started. जो growth US, UK, Europe देख चुका है, the story is just getting started here.
Right.
So the kind of opportunities that I have in this market or emerging markets is humongous. If I'm able to deal with that uncertainty, if I'm able to deal with that, with the heterogeneity, the kind of opportunity I have is humongous. Having said that, but I very strongly believe, especially if you're building software, you should be looking at global markets because the global markets gives you that price advantage.
Right.
India is
And
a
there
very
is
price
one thing
sensitive.
that global market prefers softwares. In India, we do not. I have seen that people say, "Ki I will get a more other another resource rather than paying this
हाँ,
software." So
मैं
वो
एक बंदे
mindset
को
है.
बैठा दूंगा वो ना पेपर में लिख
हाँ.
लेगा. यू टेल
Correct.
टेल देम. मैंने कल ही बात हो रही थी एक एंड दिस इज मैच्योर. आई मीन मैच्योर इन द सेंस कि चलो एक दो तीन करोड़ की बिजनेस है. इट्स नॉट अ अपस्टार्ट एंड द थिंकिंग दैट दे रीच 10 करोड़. तो ही वाज लाइक मुझे सीआरएम क्यों चाहिए. आई सेड दिस इज ऑल इट विल हेल्प. एक बंदा दो बंदे बिठा देंगे ना. आई वो दो बंदे के जो कॉस्ट है सीआरएम की कॉस्ट उससे कम है. यू विल नॉट नीड. एंड eventually when these all of those papers, when those people leave, what will you do? How will you even kind of have access to the records? आपके customers के जो engagement हो रहा है, how will you have even access to the records? नहीं
Yeah,
मालूम.
this is a very big problem. People do not understand the value of
They
software.
don't want to
उनको
pay for
just
software.
इनका वो
हाँ,
कहेंगे कि मैं बंदे की जगह सिस्टम लगा दूंगा,
exactly.
वो मेरे लिए काम करेगा 24 घंटे.
हाँ, they say that people, I mean today Ajay is working for me. Tomorrow, Ashish might work for me. Third day, Michael might work for me. The systems are in place. We
Yes,
get people dependent.
exactly.
We do not, especially अगर आप and India is mostly SMBs, right? Enterprise market. अभी भी India has it's a very SMB heavy market. Here, if you go and talk to people, that because software is intangible, right? It's not a
Correct.
machine sitting on your table. It's not a sofa sitting on your in your drawing room. It's intangible, and here people have a lot of distrust of the intangible. क्या ही कर लेगा? मैं तो देख ही नहीं पा रहा हूँ. क्या ही हो रहा है? So that I think because of the price sensitivity of the Indian market, if you are a software maker, if you are a SaaS maker, I definitely think you should explore markets outside. If you look at the best SaaS coming out of India, the most successful SaaS coming out of India, be it Freshworks, Zoho, all of these, they have a lot of their market revenues coming from mature markets, US, Europe, even Middle East. So you need to hedge your bets. Definitely look at the opportunities in India and emerging markets. But if you have to build a good, profitable business, look at how you can penetrate mature markets. Because otherwise, you would probably be always be chasing that low margin
No margin.
game here.
No,
Mm.
that is totally true. You have made it very clear
Yeah.
what has to be done. So,
नहीं, वो कस्टमर के हमें अपना 30% डिस्काउंट दे दो फिर वो 40% मांगेगा. देन यू से 40% वो 50 मांगेगा.
40 वो बढ़ती रहती है, and then one day customer will say मैं दूसरे का जा रहा हूँ because
हाँ,
of the price.
एग्जैक्टली.
That
वो
is
तो
the
हमें मुझे 52% दे दिया.
हाँ,
मैं यहाँ जा रहा हूँ.
so that is the case here.
Yeah.
So I had those questions and I have covered them all. Now, as we reach close to the closing part of the podcast, I would like to ask some rapid fire type of
Oh,
questions.
okay.
Yeah. So,
Just
number
hearing.
one is your go-to campaign metric.
Mm. Huh?
Your
Sorry?
go-to campaign metric.
Go to campaign metric.
Yeah.
ROAS.
Why?
Uh, like I said, it's AOV by CAC that I look at.
Okay.
What is my average order volume to my CAC? If I'm selling a high ticket item, my CAC could be higher. So I just don't look at CAC. I look at the average order value of what. And if I just look at AOV, then I'm disregarding the cost part of it. So I want to bring both of them together and look at a return on advertising spend in a short term. On a longer term, I'd like to look at LTV to CAC, because of course LTV is not immediately evident. But
Correct.
over time, definitely like to look at LTV to CAC.
Next one is one buzzword in marketing you would love to kill.
Love to kill.
Kill.
Value proposition. I've never liked that term much.
Okay.
Hmm.
A woman founder whose brand storytelling you admire.
All right. Difficult one.
That is why I put it.
I think to an extent, the Kamath brothers, they do a very good job of telling the Zerodha story.
No woman founder.
Huh?
No woman.
Woman founder may, of course, I think Sugar has done a brilliant job of
Okay.
Vinita. Yeah,
Vinita.
yeah,
Got it.
yeah. She is a very strong epitome of a founder who is also multifaceted. She's a marathon runner. She's a fitness advocate. So she's a mother. She has brought all of those aspects of her very well together to kind of provide a very wholesome picture to the world.
True.
Mm.
Cold traffic versus community-led growth. What
Community-led growth.
is?
Community-led growth.
I
Mm.
mean, that's if you weren't building companies, what you would be doing today?
I think I would be a wandering author.
So you,
Wandering author, दोनों एक साथ होना चाहिए, traveling. I'll be writing stories or just staying in different places.
okay, that is interesting. Then Missouri is a good place for you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Any day.
Perfect. That is
Uh,
awesome.
mm.
So, before we say goodbye to our audience, would you like to say anything or tell them what you would be doing if you were a 24-year-old? What advice you would be giving to yourself if you would be your 25-year-old version?
I'll say, इंडिया में हम बहुत टाइम स्पेंड कर देते हैं, जॉब, द परफेक्ट जॉब, द परफेक्ट एजुकेशन को चेज करते हुए. Take more risk in life early on and experiment a lot early on. Because, sorry, at the risk of sounding very cliche, जिंदगी ना मिलेगी दोबारा.
Hmm.
So, important है career. I mean, it's important that you have a plan, but a plan is always clearer in hindsight. जब तक आप experiment नहीं करोगे, आपके पास वो plan भी clear नहीं होगा. And this is an advice I got from the dean of Imperial Business School, where I, where I studied. He looked at my perfect GMAT score. He looked at all my educational certificates, etc. And he said, "You have such a wasted life." I was like, "Excuse me?" He said, "Huh, you Indians, you'll just study, study, and work, work. By your age, people here would have gone to jail. They would have probably, been busted in some foreign city. They would have volunteered. They would have gone and, kind of sung to a couple of companies. But, Indians are, you all are very conscientious. You all are studying, walking, always chasing goals. So I think वो थोड़ा सा less boring बनो और थोड़ा सा risk लो life में. Because suddenly you will realize कि, अभी बहुत सारी responsibility. I still take a lot of risks. So I've got a 10-year-old daughter. But that's how I am. I think staying abroad kind of increase their appetite for risk. Or the kind of friends I had, they kind of increase my appetite for risk. वो risk up definitely low. The younger you are, the you have more latitude to take risk. तो थोड़ा experiment करो. एक साल आपने, if you are earning less than your neighbor or your friend, or or Mr. Sharmaji's son, is okay. And
Good example.
it's, yeah, like I said, you only live once.
Right.
And you experiment and वो ना माने society के metrics से खुद को मत नापो. Have your own North Star metric and follow that.
That is amazing and actually very true. This advice I also got when I was in Bangalore last time from one of
Mm,
my mentors. So he told me, Anmol, you write down the things that scares
mm,
you the most, that you do not want to risk on, and you do them.
mm, mm.
Of course, take calculated risk. Don't do
Uh,
something stupid, but yes, make a list of it and try to do them. Still,
uh,
before you are,
right.
you get
Yeah.
too old. So I did that, and I'm grateful that I, listened to his advice.
Mm,
So that is perfect. And on that note, first of all, thank you to our audience who have listened to this episode till here. Thank you to you, Rimjhim, for giving us so much value, to our audience,
mm,
giving, your answers was very precise. That is what I really like about it. And to the point of the question, what we were asking.
mm.
So thank you so much for that. And before we say, a standard line, anything you want to add?
Anmol, I think you were a great host, and you brought out, a lot of good answers, a lot of good insights from me. The quality of a podcast depends. I always say that it depends more on the host than the guest. I think you are a fantastic host. Thanks for giving me this opportunity, and to all the viewers out there, I think I want to, that note I wanted to leave with. I talked a lot about AI, a lot talked about tech, I talked about how can you make a career, how can you make it in entrepreneurship, and at the end of the day, I think the one thing I keep telling, one thing I want to leave you with: you only live once, so make the best most of this life.
No, that is true.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Mm,
On that note, thank you, our audience, once again. Do like, subscribe, and share. If you have any questions, we'll put Rimjim's LinkedIn down in the description, or you can send those questions to me and I will get you back with those answers.
mm.
And till then, we'll be back soon with another exciting episode on our podcast series, The Young Turk Dialogues by Crobstacle. Have a great day. Goodbye.
Thank you.